Lagos's Hot FM.
Today we are discussing addictions in men. From substance to drugs to gambling, addictions, all of it. Somebody actually told me, I think last week, he said, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm rather afraid of leaving. I've got my special guest in the studio with me today. He's a psychotherapist, he's a men's coach, a counselor, a keynote speaker. Dr. Temple Obike is here with me in the studio. Doctor, it's quite fascinating that, this has become the home topic, right? Mm-hmm. Addiction, whether it is betting or substance or what have you. What's your definition of addiction?
An addiction is simply what I will describe as a brain dysfunction. One of the ways you know what an addiction simply is that it leads to a compulsive desire to use substances or a compulsive desire to engage in certain behaviors.
What qualifies one to be described as an addict?
When you find out that your desires to engage in certain habits or your desire to use a substance outweighs your need for control. You cannot control those desires. And you notice that you're also starting to substitute time that you're supposed to use for other things to engage in either a particular set of behavior or to partake of a substance. That is when you can actually describe someone as being an addict.
It is said that if you want to understand, the pain of people, right? Mm-hmm. You look at their life. So what are some of these root causes of addiction?
Research has shown that people who actually turn out to become addicts, when you look at it introspectively, you generally tend to find out that family background played a huge role. Either there was someone in the family who was an addict, or in the family, certain things that had happened in the family. Maybe you could sense maybe there was abuse as well in the family. You find out that these are certain things that can actually lead to an addiction. Another thing is also trauma, because at the root cause of most addiction cases, over 64% of them, you find out that trauma is there. Something they had gone through. It could be rape, it could be an accident, it could be anything, but anything that poses some form of trauma could also trigger an addiction.
Do you think there are other factors that come from your environment or the family?
Definitely.
Or maybe situation the person went through, or...
Yes. So with situations, for instance, like I said, someone who was a rape victim growing up and trying to medicate and trying to numb the pain could actually get into an addictive patterns to numb the pain. Then environmentally as well. For instance, on TV, sometimes you could actually, or all over the internet, you could actually see certain videos that glamorize drug use. So imagine what that does to maybe a teenager sitting back and watching this, and a teenager that does not have the proper firm foundations, and upbringing. Imagine what it does to that teenager. Certain series on TV glamorizing drug use. Obviously, that by itself, as an environmental factor as well, sets up an individual to go that route of becoming an addict. So yes, I do believe that the environment also has a huge role to play.
We can say society is making us sick.
Definitely.
Society makes us sick.
Yes. Okay, now, when we say society makes us sick, I agree, but half-heartedly, and I'll tell you why. Because, you see, as much as society plays a role in this, but at the end of the day, we're also our actions, what we decide to do, we should hold ourselves accountable.
Why do people don't stop from, take one bottle, 2 bottles, and then you stop? Why do they continue that it now becomes an addiction?
You see, when it comes to addiction, as much as we look at it like something that is purely behavioral, but there's an aspect of addiction that I also think has a lot to do with emotion. Because psychology teaches us about addiction, from an aspect. And that is the aspect most of us, most therapists, most medical doctors will approach addiction from. But when you are actually privy to see addicts in dens, there's a part of addiction that starts to stare you in the face, because at that point you start to understand that addiction is also an emotional thing. These are people who are trying to escape the problem.
Now you're getting there.
Yes. These are people who are also trying to escape a problem with a short-term solution. And because they are trying to escape a problem with a short-term solution, now they have preferred the solution which is short-term, which is now addiction. And at that point, it dawns on them that it's not enough, that they need more. And at this point, as an addict, something begins to happen to them. There's something called habituation, where 1 gram of what used to be okay for you suddenly isn't okay. You need to get to a point where you up the ante, and you keep upping it until you get to a point where you hear the term overdose.
What is this sports betting addiction, and how did people get that?
When it comes to sports betting, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And the moment the media began to glamorize it, then it became popular, for starters. Then the second thing, an addiction that becomes easy to access, or easy, a craving that you have that is easy to assuage. It's so easy for you to now attend to it because of your mobile phone, for instance. Because now on your mobile phone, you can pick up a device, click on an app, and bet. Anything that is leveraged on a game of chance, leveraged on chance, where you have to do something and you have the chance of winning something else that is larger than what you put in, you need to be careful, because there's something it does to your brain. It is called habituation. There's an excitement created when you know there's a chance of winning something more than what you put in. And as much as you keep losing, you keep doing it because of that excitement that has been created. I don't want to go into the chemical balances and imbalances, but there's something that happens to your brain. And the more you leverage on it, which is why for every 10 games you are going to play and you lose 9 and win 1, the fact that you won 1 pushes you to lose another 19 so that you can win 1.
What is that thing that people get from addiction that they can't get from anything else, that they stay addicted?
A kid who is addicted to gambling obviously will not, the ethics around the smart work is lost to them, because already they believe that you can put in a little and get more.
At that very young age.
At that age. So if you're sitting them down and they have people in front of them who they can cite as live references. You see, when people get addicted to things, what usually happens is this. When you're addicted to a substance, everybody who is addicted to a substance or addicted to a pattern or a behavior knows that there's a struggle somewhere. They know something is off. So what happens to them is this. If they become addicted and they do not have support, the next thing they want to do is run into other gangs or with other people, other clusters of people who are also addicted, because at that point, there is no conscience there to judge them. Everybody who takes cocaine, for instance, who cluster together, there is no voice, there's no conscience there, because we can all come, do it, and leave. But if you have someone who can become your accountability partner, who, when they see you going through your cravings, they see you struggling, can tell you, calm down, listen, and the things that this person was taught by a therapist, you know, when you see somebody who is struggling and they are having their cravings, tell them to do this. Tell them to, you know, get a towel, put it in cold water, dab them with it. If you're in a hotel room, leave your hotel door open. These are little things you need to learn to handle your cravings.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Lekki. What can we do about the smoking issue that you are talking about?
For people who smoke, you see, smoking, the first thing you must do to quit an addiction is, first of all, have an awareness.
Yeah, that's very important.
The awareness is the first thing. Once you're aware that there's an issue, you've engaged the first step, after which you then move towards stopping the addiction. But one of the things you must understand about addictions is that you must understand triggers.
Fantastic point. So, Dr. Obike, where can addicts find support?
Okay, so for addicts, there are about 2-3 places. So you can either go to a mental health institution. You can seek out the services of a psychologist who can help you drill down, or a psychotherapist as well who can help you drill down to the reasons you do what you do. And then an institution. Those are the places you can get help.
Thank you very much.
Lagos's Hot FM.